Your father, little girl. I looked up at the three men. I tasted blood inside my mouth. My arms and legs, my entire body, froze. Only my head could move, and I shook it to say no. I shook my head. Well, then. The first soldier kicked me aside. He and the other soldier shoved Monsieur Rosenbaum into the back of a police van parked on the street. The van drove away, siren blaring. We hadn't seen Monsieur Rosenbaum since. I should have said yes, he was my father. I should have jumped to my feet. I should have fought them. I should have done anything but what I had done. I ran home breathless and threw up in the toilet at the end of our hall. Mama tucked me into her bed, and I lay with my face against the wall, weeping. Before I could bring myself to tell my parents what had happened, neighbors were pounding on our door with the news. Mama thought it was a coincidence that I was sick. I never told her otherwise. I never confessed my shame. Monsieur Rosenbaum ended up in a prison factory in Germany. He'd been able to send 2 letters home. Every time I heard sirens, my heart raced. I thought I would vomit all over again. Sometimes I did. Miri, my mother called through the open window. Mama thought my fear of the police came from Kristallnacht, the night that caused us to flee Berlin. But there'd been no sirens then, even though our house caught fire. The German government had started the riot. They didn't come to the rescue. Miri, Mama called again. Please come down. Nora's here asking for you. I sat up. Nora was Madame and Monsieur Rosenbaum's little girl. She had just turned 2 years old. She'd been a tiny baby when Monsieur Rosenbaum was arrested. I had loved her since the moment she was born. I climbed down from the roof more carefully than I'd gone up. Good morgen, Miriam, said Madame Rosenbaum. That was Yiddish for good morning. Good morgen, Miri. Nora toddled across the floor and held her skinny arms out to me. I propped the red geranium back onto the grill, out of Nora's reach, and swooped her into my arms. Dis bonjour, I said to her. Say good morning, in French. Nora laughed. Fromage, she said instead. Cheese. Fromage, I said, tickling her. You're the fromage. Fromage, fromage. Nora howled. Fromage, she shrieked. Fromage, I shrieked. Madame Rosenbaum rolled her eyes with a slight smile. I'm waiting for her to forget that. Fromage, dommage, not such a difference. She spoke in Yiddish except for the 2 rhyming French words. Fromage means cheese. Dommage means oops. When Madame Rosenbaum confused the 2 a week ago, Nora had burst out laughing. She won't forget, I said. It's too funny. Madame Rosenbaum said, also, she'll have you to remind her. True. I grinned. Fromage. Nora sighed happily. She leaned her head against my shoulder and tucked the 2 middle fingers of her left hand into her mouth. I spoke French fluently, unlike my mother and Madame Rosenbaum. Papa had been a language teacher in Germany, and he'd taught me French from when I was a baby. Even if that hadn't been true, all my school classes were of course taught in French. Almost everyone living in the Pletzel was Jewish. Many of us, like my parents and I, were recent immigrants, and the adults tended to speak the language of whatever country they came from. Mama and Madame Rosenbaum had learned some French, but mostly spoke Yiddish, or German, as well, of course, as Hebrew, the Jewish language of prayer. Good Shabbos, Madame Rosenbaum said to me now. I smiled. Good Shabbos, I said back. It was Friday, so Shabbos, the Jewish holy day, began at sundown. In happy anticipation, we said, Good Shabbos, Yiddish for Good Shabbos, all Friday long.